Alright, hi everyone. Let's continue with our data structures and algorithm series. So far, we have covered time and space complexities, common problem solving patterns, recursion, some searching algorithms like linear and binary search, and few sorting algorithms. And now it's time to move forward from algorithms to another important topic, that is data structures. So far in this series, we have used commonly two data structures, and that were arrays and objects. But there are some other data structures as well, like trees, graphs, linked lists, stacks or queues, etc., that are helpful for those problems which cannot be handled by the arrays alone. Alright, let's see the definition of data structures first, and then we will move forward. So the definition says a data structure is a way of organizing and storing data efficiently. It also involves the relationships among that data and the functions or operations that can be applied on that data. For example, we have used arrays so far. We have the index numbers for all the array elements, right? So array actually takes care of the order of these elements. And for operations, array gives us some built-in methods like adding, sorting, removing the elements in array. If you remember, we have used .push to add a new element in the array, right? And that's what data structure is. Alright, now moving next. So as we are going to work with trees, graphs and linked lists, JavaScript doesn't come with them pre-built. So we do not have any such data structures already available in JavaScript like arrays and objects. We have to implement them on our own. And for that we are going to take advantage of ES 2015 class syntax. If you are already familiar with this syntax, then you can skip this video, because in this video I'm going to cover how to use class syntax in JavaScript and how we will use it in implementing the various data structures. Now before moving forward, I would like to mention we actually don't need classes to implement these data structures. We can completely rely on the objects, the key value pairs, but classes are more nicer way to implement them. Alright, now let's try to understand what exactly a class is. As per the definition, a class is a blueprint for creating objects with predefined properties and methods. But if you already know, JavaScript is not an object-oriented programming language, right? Unlike other programming languages like Java or C++, but the classes in JavaScript are not actually classes but a syntactical sugar over the JavaScript's existing prototype based inheritance. So as we already know, JavaScript is a prototype based language. Now if you don't know about the prototype based inheritance, let me know in the comments. I will create a video for that, because this topic requires a separate video to be discussed. For now, think of it is as a mechanism where an object A inherits properties and methods from other objects. So based on that existing concept, we can create classes to manage the code in a nicer way. Alright, now let's see the syntax of a class in JavaScript. To create classes in JavaScript, we will use the keyword class and then we have to give it a name. This class keyword creates a constant, so you cannot redefine it. And also this class contains a constructor method, which is going to be called automatically when a new instance of the class is created. And this constructor method is responsible to initialize the object properties. For an example, as you can see, I have an employee class here. The first name and last name of this employee will be initialized by this constructor method. Now let's move on to the code sandbox and write our first class. I will be creating the same employee class here. Alright, now let's see how we can use this employee class. To instantiate a class, we need to use the new keyword, and then we have to call this employee class with all the arguments accepted by the constructor method. Also, you must have noticed how I am initializing the first name and last name. You can see I am assigning the argument values to this dot first name and this dot last name. Here, first name and last name are the properties of our employee class, and this keyword refers to the current instance of this employee. For example, if you are having employee 1 instance, then this keyword will refer to the employee 1 instance. If I instantiate my employee class with employee 1 and do a console log for this dot first name, then you will be getting AB. We will see the example when we will work with the instance methods. But first, let's move to code sandbox. So I will create a new instance of my employee class. Let employee 1 new employee. I will be using A as the first name and B as the last name. Now I will console log this employee1 instance. Now let's see the output in the console. As you can see, we have successfully created the instance of our employee class and the first name and last name is already initialized. So we can create as many instances as we want for the same employee class. So I will create multiple instances over here. Right, I will just change the names as well. Right, also I will console log them. Employee 2, 3 and 4. Alright, you can see now we are having 4 employee class instances with their respective first name and last names. So you might have got the idea. We are going to do something similar with our data structures. Like we will be having class for linked list. Same we will do for trees and graphs as well. Right, each data structure will have their own classes. Now moving on to the next topic, that is instance methods. Now so far we have covered how to create a class and what exactly the purpose of a constructor method. Now let's see another thing that is called instance method. So if you remember, as I mentioned in the definition, a data structure also involves the relationship among the data and the functions or operations that can be applied on that data. So instance methods are going to be responsible for the operations that can be performed on that data. As you can see in this example, I have an instance method called full name. So whenever I will call this full name, I will be getting this string in return that has your full name is first name and then your last name. Also, I have another instance method here that is update first name, which allows me to update the first name of the employee. Alright, now let's see this in action. Here I will be creating first the full name instance method. Alright, now if I want to get the full name of an employee, all I need to do is call it with employee1 dot full name. And in the logs you can see I'm getting employee name, your full name is AB, and that also satisfies its name instance method because we can call this method from the instance, right? All these employee 1, 2, 3 and 4 are my employee class instances. And now let's create our another instance method that is update first name. Alright, now if I call update first name with a new name XYZ, you can see the employee1 instance is now having XYZ as its first name and the last name is still B. And that's how you can update the data using instance methods. And now if I show you how it will be helpful in creating our data structures like linked list, trees or graphs, then we will be having a constructor method that will help us in initializing the data, right? Let me just quickly copy paste it, and then we will be having our instance methods like insert or maybe push. If you remember, in arrays we have dot push method, right, to add new elements into the array. Same we will be having in linked list, trees and graphs as well. Another example will be remove, to remove the elements, right? All these are instance methods. Cool. Now moving on to the next one, that is class methods. Now one thing I would like to mention, that class methods are not going to be as useful as instance methods. We are rarely going to use the class methods. But for knowledge, let's just see what exactly class methods are. Class methods are defined by using static keyword. You can see we have a method here called send email in my example that can be used to send emails to the employees, but it has static keyword before its name. Now static keyword defines a static method for the class. These methods are called without instantiating the class and cannot be called through a class instance. Static methods are used to create utility functions for applications. Meaning, if you are creating a static method or a class method, you cannot call it from the class instance, that is your employee1 and employee2. You cannot call employee1.send email. That will just not work. We can call it through the class only. So if you want to call the static method, according to our example, it's going to be employee.send email. Now this point is very important. Static methods are used to create utility functions for applications. Basically a function that has a general purpose, not something specific to the instance. Now let's try to implement this. I will create a static method here. For that, I need to use the static keyword. Now I'm not going to use any email service here just to show you the working of static methods. Instead, I will just do a console log. So what I will do, I will just simply iterate over the employees array. Employees dot for each, and then simply do a console log saying email sent to. Let me make it template literal. Okay, then I will just do a simply email sent to e.firstname, and then we can return. Alright, I will just simply remove this console log. Instead, I will just do employee dot send email, and then I need to pass the instances of my employees. I can pass employee 1 to 3. Alright, let me just simply refresh. Alright, you can see email sent to XYZ, email sent to C, email sent to E, and that's how class methods works. Now you must be thinking what will happen if I try to call it using the instance. Let's see that as well. So if I just do employee1.send email, it will actually not work. It will just say employee1.send email is not a function. Alright, let me show you something interesting that is similar to the static class methods. Now if you know how to create an object in JavaScript, you can do it where obj equals new object, and then you have to define your key value pairs, right? So my key will be A, value will be 1, B, and then the value will be 2, right? Now my obj object is defined. I can even show you. See? Now what if I do obj dot keys? Will it work? No, because object dot keys is not a function. Why? Because dot keys is a class method, not a instance method. Now what will happen if I call it using the class itself? So object dot keys, and then we will pass our instance here, that is obj, right? And now you can see object.keys is working, which means this is a static method that can only be called by the class, not by the instance. But again, we are not going to use static methods much in this series. Alright, so I think now we have enough idea about how classes works in JavaScript, right? And now we should be able to create our data structures using the class syntax. So one last time, let's see how we will be using the classes. So here is a boilerplate, you can say. We will be using the class keyword and then the structure name that can be linked list, tree, graph, etc. We will be having a constructor method that will help us in initializing properties, and then we will be having an instance method which will help us in inserting, removing, shifting or unshifting the data in our data structure. That's what we discussed here, right? Alright, that's all for this one. If you have any doubt or any suggestion, feel free to write the comment and stay tuned for the upcoming videos. In next video, we will be covering singly linked list.